right, Lars, you can go ahead and take it away.
All right. All right. Well, welcome everyone to the Design Review Board meeting of February 15th, 2023. I will read a little script, I guess, for the last time of our, maybe not, but to start our meeting. This meeting is being conducted utilizing teleconferencing and electronic means consistent with State of California executive orders regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. Zoom is being utilized for this meeting. In case of technical issues, meetings will be uploaded to the city website as soon as possible after this meeting. We will be conducting today's meeting in a virtual setting. Design Review Board members and staff are participating from remote locations, practicing appropriate social distancing. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting by use of Zoom. Members of the public wishing to speak to the Design Review Board may do so during public comment or may comment on agenda items during the discussion of each item and must be logged into Zoom. Anyone using abusive, vulgar, offensive, threatening, or harassing language, personal attacks of any kind, or offensive terms that target specific individuals or groups will be muted and removed from the meeting. Please do not abuse this new way to provide public comment. So we can go ahead and get started with a roll call, John.
Yeah. So I will start with Christine Lovell. Hand is raised, so I'm assuming that she's here.
I'm here.
Thank you, Christine. Carrie Bush.
Here.
Lynn Diedler.
Here.
Vice Chair Melissa Henley.
Here.
And Chair Lars Langberg.
Here.
All right. And I do not have Marshall on today's agenda, today's roll call, so he is absent, but is one of the alternate members. So we have a quorum on any.
Okay. And we have no minutes to approve. So, John, are there any planning department updates you'd like to fill us in on?
Yeah, so I'll start off first with last week. City Council did the Design Review Board. They held their meetings and appointments. So Marshall Bouth and Carrie Bush were reappointed for their positions. And we have with us Lynn Diedler, who took over Ted Luthen's position as the Category B member of the board. So I want to welcome Lynn back to the board. And also want to thank Ted for his service on our board. And, you know, I was only here for a short period of time, but he was a great chair for the time that he was here while I was here. So I, again, want to thank him for his service. And I believe at one of the next council meetings, we'll have a letter of appreciation that will go out to Ted for long service on the Design Review Board. So with that, I know at our last meeting, we went over a couple facade improvement program requests. One of them, a few of you may remember, was for the livery building, which they were doing some facade changes with paint and siding. That one the board approved. The second one was for Donna Waldman, who owns Main Street Mercantile. We were going to have her come back with a different awning request. I haven't received the updated awning request from her yet. I know that she was working with a local awning company that typically does canvas style awnings, and they are unable to do that kind of horizontal, vertical type of, or horizontal awning that the board suggested. So she's reaching out to some other companies in town or outside of town to help her get something that will fit what the board was kind of looking for. So when that comes back in for a final review, I'll make sure I get that on the agenda. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention is I sent out a poll for a special meeting for the First Street project that some of you may remember. I did kind of speak to Melissa and Lynn separately about this project as they're newer members to the board. That project, we're looking at doing a special meeting, as I mentioned, and I did receive some responses back from the board. I'm still waiting on a couple. So if you could please email me the times that work for you. I think we had the, let me pull it up here actually. February 23rd, February 27th, and then February 28th were the 3 special meeting dates. Both of those were either a 3:30 start time or a 4 p.m. start time. Back to me as soon as possible. That way we can still meet. We can still get in before we go back to a live in-person meeting format for this one. And I want to make sure that we have enough time so we can properly notice the neighbors and public that participated in the first 2 meetings from January of 22 and then August of 21. So this project's been going on for quite some time. So we want to move it along.
So just John, just
yeah.
to on that note, I'm looking at the poll and it looks like Carrie and myself are the only ones who haven't responded. So I don't know if we can just figure it out right here and now, or that's too much.
Yeah, if you want to do that, that's absolutely fine.
Okay. So it looks like of the people who responded, the 28th at 4:30 works for those. So that works for me. Carrie, does it work for you?
Yeah, it can work for me too. I'm looking at my calendar now. Let's go ahead and go for it. 28th. Is that 3:30 or 4?
3:30.
3:30.
It says 4:30 on the poll.
The 4:30 is the end time, I believe.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So 3:30 to 4:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
It might go a little bit longer than that hour, judging on the last couple meetings that we had. So if that works for the 2 of you, Lynn, does that day at that time work for you as well?
It's good, yes.
Okay, perfect. So we'll go ahead and set that for the 28th at 3:30.
Okay, great.
And that'll be basically our last Zoom meeting before we move into the hybrid format, in-person format. So the other planning department thing was, and this kind of dovetails. Oh, Christine, do you have a question real quick?
Yeah, so this is regarding the special meeting. So first of all, I'm kind of curious as to why we're having a special meeting for this project.
It was originally, I had originally scheduled it for today's meeting, but I was unable to get the staff report completed in a reasonable time to make sure that we responded to the applicant's resubmission in a way that both met what the mitigation measures were that we've discussed, in the last meeting in January, and also give the neighbors within the vicinity of the project, enough time to make sure that they would be available should they want to participate in the meeting. So that's why we're doing the special meeting. And I still wanted to, get it within our hybrid format before it kind of, we don't have a set time yet, basically, for our hybrid meeting days, which is why we're discussing that later on in the agenda today. So I didn't want to leave it up in the air.
Okay, so thank you. My second question is, given that this was a rather contentious issue and we're being asked to, comment on things that are not normally in the design review purview, they'd be more planning types of, issues. And there was a lot of going back and forth, and we have new board members who are not familiar with what happened.
I've watched all the videos.
They are
Okay,
colorful.
great, thank you.
Ah,
Thank you, Melissa, I appreciate that. So I take that back, but at any rate, the sooner that we can get the information packet from you, the better, I believe, just to be able to have time to review the minutes, because it's been quite a while. And if we want to go back to the videos and the discussion, so I'm just asking that the sooner the better with all the information.
Okay.
You can get it to us.
Yeah, I like I said, I have the majority of the report done. It was just a couple items that Carrie and I wanted to really finalize more in depth before we sent out kind of a half or 3/4 of the way staff report that left up a bunch of questions that the board may have or the applicant may have as to our determination and understanding of that kind of size and massing stuff. So I will relay that message to Carrie so that we can try and get that report out, earlier than the Thursday before the meeting that we typically go
Right,
off of.
because the Thursday before the meeting would give us even one day less
Correct.
than normal procedure.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot to review, and there's a lot of public contention, et cetera, regarding this particular issue. So.
Okay. Yeah, I will.
All right.
I'll talk to her again tomorrow and see if we can, get it out early next week. If not, if not sooner.
That would be super. I'd really appreciate it, John.
Yep. And like I said earlier, I did relay, I spoke to Melissa about this project and Lynn and gave them both of the links to the meeting packets and materials. And both of the YouTube links are on the city's website. So you can go back and watch the live streams of those. And if somebody wants the minutes, I can make sure that those minutes are available as well to read through and go over.
So to go back to where Christine started, I didn't quite understand why would this require a special meeting? Just because we're giving the applicant the sort of benefit of the doubt, like they're ready to go, so we're pushing them ahead. But there's not a lot of precedent for that. We've done it, I think, once or twice. But if we're trying to, I guess we don't know our next meeting. It might be 2 weeks from that Tuesday we just agreed on, right? That was kind of where we were headed, like the first and third Tuesdays of the month.
Yeah.
Or I guess it would be a week after. So is it really like of such urgency that why can't we just do it at the next meeting?
On the city staff end, that we're attempting to get that on today's meeting, and we weren't able to adhere to that, and the applicant, made arrangements to have everybody available today, and it's kind of on.
Okay.
So and then trying to keep it within before we go back to our in-person hybrid format where this one, if it was any other meeting, I don't think it would be an issue, testing out the first hybrid format meeting.
Okay.
So I'd hate to have to get to that point where, our first hybrid meeting is something this severe and we have technical issues or we can't get something squared away, and then we have to postpone it again, another 2 weeks.
Okay. So you're referring to like the amount of public comment that could happen. And
Correct.
if it's coming over the Zoom while we're all in the room and something goes wrong with that, then it could just be a big problem.
There's quite a few technical things as far as the public interaction on the hybrid format where, there's more infrastructure with the hybrid format as opposed to what we currently have right now, where it's just, you log in, it's very simple and straightforward.
Yeah.
So we felt that with with this specific project, it makes sense to kind of have it the easier way that we're used to right now, as opposed to,
Yeah.
kind of throwing ourselves in the deep end without any waiters.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Does anybody else have comments or questions on that?
Yeah, and this may not be the right venue for this question, but I just wanted to clarify. I watched all nearly 5 hours of videos. Y'all are champs. Those are long meetings. Were the two basically decisions of the board prior about the area of catchment for assessing square footage, and then the maximum square footage that we're considering, but we did not adjudicate on like conditioned, unconditioned, or any of that. So really only two kind of guidance points to the applicant for this next applicant.
John?
Uh-huh.
Does
I
anybody
didn't ask
remember?
that very clearly either, so sorry. But I
Well,
just want to make sure I got the.
Christine might have a good memory of this.
Yes, I do.
Go for it.
So we made a decision about the conditioned square footage. So what the applicant was trying to present was additional bulk that's not conditioned.
Yep.
And I suppose that's going to come up.
Yeah.
The intent, if you talk to the original planners who did the subdivision, the intent was to keep the building smaller, in consistency with this sort of vague idea of what the neighborhood was.
Sure. Yeah.
So now we have a situation where we have an applicant that's willing to comply. Well, we kind of forced the issue with the square footage, but the original planning document for the subdivision did not define the amount of non-conditioned space.
Right.
So you
Yeah.
can therefore make a much bigger building if you were attaching, like, let's just say a 50-car garage to your, I forget, we gave a pretty precise square footage number not to exceed, as I recall.
You did. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure going in that I wasn't missing another instruction to them as when they come back to us. But okay, it sounds like I've mostly got it.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
And Melissa, thank you for taking the time to watch all those
Yeah.
videos. I know that must have been a lot of work.
I made some
appreciate you
popcorn.
doing
It was
that.
fun. It was good.
It was definitely popcorn inducing,
Indeed.
Okay.
especially when the applicant cried. Anyway,
Oh, it was a tearjerker.
yes, it was.
Okay, so it sounds like we're gonna meet on the Tuesday, the 28th. And we'll get the materials as soon as possible. Okay,
Like I said, I will work on getting that out to you guys as quickly as possible. The majority of the report is all done. There was just a couple things that we wanted to make sure that we addressed as part of their resubmission. And, part of their resubmission coming back was doing their own research as to, size of garages in the neighborhood, square footage, and years of construction of those homes in that area. So, there's a lot of data that they included as part of their resubmission that, I want to make sure that I'm not just kind of quickly glancing over and not, just sticking to my own interpretation of what
okay.
general size and general area shall be for these 3 homes.
Yeah. Well, they did a lot of that research before too on the last round. So, okay, well, that's great, John. Appreciate that you're taking it, that seriously and getting it prepared for us. That's great. Any other comments on that from the board? Any questions?
I think it'll be just discussion, right? There's nothing to say vote on or provide, just primarily feedback. Is that correct?
So this will be this is their second submission for approval, basically,
okay.
of the project. Yeah, so the meeting in January was a discussion on what, the board felt as what that mitigation measure meant. And then the board, you guys tasked the applicant to come back with their with their research on, is what they're proposing meeting what the board interprets that mitigation measure to mean. So this will be an actual voting item. And, obviously there will be a lot of discussion involved with it as it goes back and forth between, the previous discussion of what that mitigation measure means, and then how the applicant is now either meeting or not meeting the intent of that measure. So this will be a, approve or deny recommendation from staff and then to the board.
Well, approve, deny, or continue.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. There's always that. The continue option is always there.
Yes. Yeah.
And we have an hour to do this.
No, this one is, I just have the hour on there. It was part of the poll that it only lets you select an hour. So it'll start at 3:30 and we'll go till there's no other meeting scheduled for us that day. Until Planning Commission doesn't start till 6 p.m. I hope that we don't go that late, but
okay.
So and then I'm anticipating that Carrie should be available at that meeting, and then also Larry might be able to be available to answer any questions as far as legal terms and stuff like that, like he was in the January meeting. So not advising or anything like that, but just in explaining some of the legal terms of that mitigation measure and whatnot.
Okay.
So,
all right. Thank you, John. Any other planning matters to report? I think we're still in that part of the agenda.
Yeah, I think that's it. Other than last week, the city council, went over going to a hybrid format meeting. So that's what we're going to discuss on our regular agenda item as far as dates and times go, because moving to a hybrid format within the community center. Unfortunately, Wednesdays, they don't have any times available. So we need to get a different day and time set up.
Okay. Okay. With that, any comments from the public regarding items not on the agenda? Did you get any emails or anything, John?
Yes, I did
right.
get a letter from the public, which I did send out to all the board members. It was in regards to the 7621 Healdsburg project that the board did a preliminary review on, mostly talking about traffic concerns and stuff like that with new development, housing or commercial and housing mixed use going in there. So that was sent in by a member of the public that asked us to share both to our planning commission and design review board. So
yeah. Right. Okay. Thank you for sending that on.
Would there happen to be any attention on cleaning up that tree that fell down for the latest storm? Has the applicant or the owners of the property decided to maybe, take any proactive measures to tidy up the site prior to submittal again?
I know that they were informed and went out when that tree originally fell down into the public, I think on the sidewalk there. But as far as full on removal, I haven't heard anything back. I can definitely reach out to them and see, I believe there's a couple other trees that are essentially just laying on the ground on that site that can probably be cleaned up, because regardless of if they move forward with a project or not, they're going to need to be removed anyway. So it might just be best to get it over with sooner rather than later.
It seems like commons do.
Yeah. So I can definitely relay that to the applicant and owner of the property there.
Yeah. All right, then moving along here, any statements of conflict of interest? That shouldn't be an issue with our one agenda item. So let's move to that and discussion on future meetings for the design review board as to the new hybrid format. So John, give us what's the council been saying about this?
Yeah, so we will be moving to a hybrid format, like I mentioned earlier. So that basically means that the staff liaison and board members will be required to participate in person. Currently, we have the youth annex at the community center as the location for our meetings going forward. I know in the past they were at City Hall in the conference room. But with current modifications in there, it's no longer an option. So we're also having Planning Commission, City Council, and a couple of other public arts and climate action will be in the youth annex as well. So it makes sense to have it all in one central location for all city meetings. With that, there's a couple different rules as far as the new Brown Act, telecommunication or telecommuting allowances. There are two different exceptions that folks can call under. The first one being just cause or emergency circumstances, or just cause, I'm sorry. So basically what that is there's 4 different criteria, and I can send this out to the board, which is caregiving for a child, parent, grandparent, sibling, spouse, domestic partner, a contagious illness, so COVID, any sickness or anything like that, you can use that just cause exception. You are only allowed to have 2 just cause exceptions per year, so you have to use those sparingly. The other one that you would be allowed to use would be if you're traveling on business so if there's a design review board conference somewhere outside of where we are currently going to be holding our meetings, you can telecommute in under that cause. So those are for the just cause exceptions. And then the second one would be for an emergency circumstance. So some sort of family medical emergency that would prohibit you from attending in person. Those are allowed. And I believe that's up to 2 meetings as well. So basically we have 4 meetings that you can use either one of those just cause exceptions. However, you can still go by the old Brown Act telecommute options where basically you would post your address or wherever you're telecommuting in from, and it's part of the agenda, and it has to be open for the public and ADA accessible, and also the agenda must be posted wherever you're located at. So if you're in a hotel room somewhere, basically you would list your hotel room number, where the hotel is located, and then making sure that it's open to the public should any member of the public want to attend that meeting. So those you can do regularly. There's no limit on any of those ones. So if you know that you're going to be traveling and you don't mind putting the location of the hotel and what room you're at, or if it's in the conference room at the hotel, you can do that. You can, however, participate, or you can join the meeting remotely, but only as a member of the public. You can't be a board member if you want to, if you're on vacation and you join via Zoom or whatever. It would just be as a member of the public. You couldn't be an acting board member. So
What is the noticing requirement if we are traveling and are going to notice our hotel room number?
So it would go out on the agenda, so the Thursday before the meeting. So we would have to have that on the agenda posted by our regular meeting standards. So if you are if you have a trip planned or something like that and you want to attend the meeting as a board member and you don't mind having your address posted, then that needs to be to me or Terry or whoever's doing the agenda before that agenda gets posted online and sent out to the public. So.
But so like both Melissa and I have offices in other cities, like, so could we be at our office in another location and certainly notify it, and then we can still be a DRB member in that instance, no?
Correct. Yes. So if you were in your office in, let's say, San Francisco, I know Melissa has an office in San Francisco. If you let us know the address and, if it's a suite number or anything like that, then we would post that on the agenda. And then we would also mention that as part of the meeting before it starts. And then your office there would have to be ADA accessible. You'd have to have it open to any members of the public that wish to join the meeting, and there's agenda needs to be posted, so anybody can do that. So in that regard, it's completely fine to do that if you're okay with having that stuff posted. I know some people may have an issue with that if it's their personal house or residence or whatever the case may be. It's it's a little different in that regard. I know Carrie has mentioned in previous meetings where we've been speaking about this, where a couple committees that she sits on, she may not want to drive all the way up to Cloverdale or Healdsburg where the meeting's going to be held, so she'll remote from her office at City Hall, and it's a public place, it's ADA accessible, it has all of those things, so she can do it there as opposed to driving all the way up to Healdsburg or Cloverdale in the middle of 10 o'clock in the morning or something like that.
But there's no limit to those.
Correct.
Instances. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so,
And then the other thing is that, so no more than 2 members of the legislative body shall use the emergency circumstance or the just cause. So if we have a meeting where 2 people are using those, it would have to be one or the other. So we can't have two members using a just cause or an emergency circumstance and still attending the meeting. So it's only allowed for one member of the entire body to use those exceptions.
Okay.
Any questions on that part of it by anybody?
It seems to me the intent is now to be in person like we used to be. And that when we do that, we commit to that twice a month, and there are, of course, circumstances that can't work. In the past, that would be you just don't get, you miss the meeting, basically, right? You just excuse yourself.
Right.
Now we have this sort of opportunity to actually still make the meeting if you want to in a different form.
I believe there's so we do have to have a physical quorum in person, basically. So there needs to be at least 3 of us in person. So it comes down to, and I know we have an alternate, that being Marshall. If somebody's unavailable to make it in person but still wants to do the out of office thing where they don't mind, then we would still need someone in person to fit that requirement.
Okay. And so now that's the mandate, those are the rules. Now we're just trying to make it happen. And through our email discussions, we came up with this first and third Tuesdays at 3:30, I think, is where we landed.
Yeah, so yes, the first and third Tuesday, I have a couple options here that I want to kind of go over first. The The first and third Tuesdays, which are the same meeting days as city council, I've been informed by the city clerk that they have a hard cutoff that we would need to be done by of 3:30. So we would, if we wanted to continue on the first and third Tuesdays of the month, we would have to start at 1:30 and be done by 3:30 p.m. In the event that there's a special meeting or interviews or closed sessions that city council does have where they start a couple hours before their regular agenda time. So we might have some meetings that clash a little bit, and the city clerk informed me today that 4 o'clock would be the absolute cutoff that we would have to be done by. So 3:30 is a little bit more reasonable so that they can have the room reset up and all that kind of stuff. So it does help that we would be using the same room. And there's the same amount of board members as city council members in most cases. So the overall setup is a little bit smoother. But the time cutoff point is a little bit sooner than that 3:30, our normal kind of meeting hours. The option 2 would be to move it to the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. So it basically line up with planning commission, and we could keep that 3:30 to 5 or 5:30 before the planning commission starts at 6. They hardly ever have any meetings that start before 6 p.m. So, and once again, they're a 5-member commission. So, setting up as for chairs and microphones and all that kind of stuff would be very minimal as opposed to some of the other commissions or committees that we have. So, and then option 3 would be on Mondays basically we would have to be done before 4 p.m. because the community center does have some classes that they start at 4 p.m. So those are kind of our 3 frames and days that we're looking at. So mostly Tuesdays and Thursdays, or Tuesdays, I'm sorry, the first and third, or second and fourth, or Mondays. And Mondays it can be either the first and third or second and fourth. There's no other committee meeting that meets on Mondays anyway, so.
Okay.
So with that, I will open it up to you guys, and I'm sure we'll have a lengthy discussion on how we're going to move forward. So
It's not a how, but when we're going to move forward. So we're going to do a live doodle poll right here.
yes,
Lengthy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you want to do it real quick, and I would absolutely do that. So
You've tried that.
Well, we
Those
could certainly just go around and say our preference, I guess. Christine, you have your hand up. Do you want to weigh in, or do you have another question?
Yeah, I want to jump right in and say I cannot do Mondays.
Mhm.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I would prefer the Tuesday, second and fourth.
Kind of at our usual time, 3:30.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Gary's in support of that. I can see. Lynn, you have to unmute yourself, Lynn. Lynn, you're muted. Oh, there's the video.
Oh, turns the camera off. Wrong button.
Well, that works for me too. I'll just say that for that second and fourth Tuesday. Go ahead, Lynn.
Any of the times work for me.
Okay, fabulous, great. And Melissa?
I'm the outlier. The Monday would be best for me, but if it's a hard no, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm usually in the city, but I can probably move some things around for a later in the day on Tuesdays, not the first and third with the 1:30 start.
Yeah, okay. So if you can make that work, then, and Christine, it doesn't work on Monday, then sounds like the second and fourth Tuesday at 3:30 is the preferred.
And we can do 3:30 or 4. We can, it's up to you guys. If 4 works better. I know that that's our starting time right now. We can definitely do so. If there's a meeting that we know is going to be a little bit longer, then we can change it to start a little bit earlier and just let the community center know. So
'Cause we have to be done at 6. The planning commission starts at 6.
correct. They start at 6 p.m. So, realistically being done by 5:30, 5:45, I think should give them enough time to, switch everything over.
Yeah.
And kind of go from there.
Okay.
I would lobby for the later start time if possible for the 4.
Yeah. 4 o'clock sounds good.
I prefer,
Carrie, 4 works for Lynn. Carrie, does that 4 o'clock work for you as well?
Will work fine, yeah.
Okay. And Christine, does that work for you too?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so we're looking at 4 p.m. on the 2nd and 4th.
So that means we're going to miss a week. We'll be an extra week in between our meetings.
Yeah, so our next meeting wouldn't be until the 14th of March.
Right. Yeah.
But we would have the special meeting on the 28th, so we're picking up an extra meeting this month, which we normally wouldn't have.
Right.
And then we're kind of moving into a regular flow of March meetings where it's the 2nd and 4th. Technically, yes, we would be missing a meeting by our current schedule, but with the special meeting on the 28th.
Yeah.
There's 3-week gap. There'd only be the week gap, I guess is.
The March dates, just to beat this dead horse, are going to be the 14th and the 28th.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
So looking into a crystal ball, we're seeing quite a few meetings coming along this spring, summer, even.
Yeah, I would say so. I do have 2 sign exceptions that we just recently got submitted in. So one's for Chase Bank, that's going to go over where the Pete's Coffee used to was in at. So they are applying for additional wall signage, which I believe when Pete's went in was approved through, I think, council.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that building was CVS and all that kind of stuff. And then the other one is for the I think it's Bank of Marin, that's right on the corner of Main and Bodega, right down by City Hall. They're going under new ownership, so they'll be changing out their signage. So we'll be looking at a new sign program basically through them. So it's just new branding is mostly what it is there. But so those 2. That's it for right now.
All right. Lynn, you still have your raised hand up. Did you have a question or no? That's just from.
oh, I'll put that down.
Okay.
Hey, can we clarify, when will our next regular meeting be?
Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be March 14th at 4 p.m. in person at the Youth Annex. So down at the community center down there. So I will be in attendance for my first DRB meeting. So
Nice.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm breaking my Zoom baby shell. So
Oh,
Woohoo.
we should bring
Yeah.
cookies or something.
I was just gonna say, who's bringing the baked goods? Like,
yeah.
come on.
Okay, well, that's great. It'll be nice to commune with everyone again.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right, anything else on that item, or are we good with that, John?
I think we're good on that. The only other thing that I wanted to get, and we can, you guys can email me this going forward. As far as meeting documents go, where the city and planning department are looking at potentially getting some sort of either like iPad or Microsoft Surface Pros, so that the board members can have like a digital version of the application materials and plan sets and all that kind of stuff. So we're not printing out huge packets and you guys have to come down and pick it up in person beforehand. With that, you're more than welcome to bring in your own either Surface or iPad or laptop or whatever that may be. But if you do need something to view those documents on, we're looking, like I said earlier, the majority of our boards and commissions are mostly consist of 5 people. So we would be looking at kind of providing 5 tablets or whatever, so that each member has the ability to mark up plans or make notes in the staff report, or when you guys do your review. If you do that over the weekend, and if you bring in a thumb drive and then plug it into the laptop or the Surface or whatever the case may be, so you can go off of that material, as opposed to printing out a large packet document. With some of the projects that we get in, it could be 40-50 pages, and then at 5 different people, it's a lot of staff time and money, and moving forward with that kind of zero waste, not wanting to print out a bunch of paper and waste that stuff. That's kind of what we're looking at, to make it a little bit easier for everybody. So
Great.
you do need some sort of device or something like that. If you can let me know if you plan on using your own, then we can go through that, and then we could look at doing some, city council has some sort of stipend as far as using their own devices, or if you're going to use the city's devices, that kind of thing going forward, where you get a certain amount for your term, essentially.
We're not obligated to use I mean, there's not like a confidentiality issue of having those documents on our own devices.
No, not at all. It would just basically be, we wouldn't want, if we were using the city devices, we wouldn't want you logging into your own email and pulling those documents off of there just for, that kind of purpose. But if you were to bring your own, just connect to the Wi-Fi that's at the community center there, and, you can access all your stuff that you need to.
Will building plans be full size in front of us at meetings?
A full set of plans. We can make sure that we're able to print 12 by 24 here at City Hall. So it basically, the scale would match a 24 by 48 or 12 by 18. I'm sorry.
You do a half size.
Yeah, so it'd be a half size, so it's still enough to see, but the full, 24 by 36, if we weren't receiving those in person, we would have to go somewhere to get those printed, or if you wanted to, print them yourselves, you can do so. A lot of our permits right now, and then in the future, because we are getting an electronic permitting system, they're going to be mostly digital. So that's kind of you know, the benefit of a tablet or something like that, obviously it'd be, you know, 12 or 13-inch tablet, so it's readable. It's not, you know, the 8-inch screen, so you can
But the
still view
infinite
those.
zoom, let me tell you, it's so good.
Yeah. But Lynn, if we do need to have, you know, full sets or half sets, then that's something that you know, if you let me know beforehand, we can make sure that those are available. But I'm just trying to cut down on, you know, printing out 5 different sets of, you know, a full architectural application set. So
And we've done, I think, in the past, or we certainly could do like a projection, right? If we have something we really want to make a point about it in a site plan, say, or something, like just point it to the projected on the wall, and then we can all see it big.
yeah, I think we can explore that option as well. I know the projection that they're going to be using for the community center down there will be for the folks commuting or joining via Zoom. So it'll have
Yeah,
like the
right.
thing on there. So,
Okay.
but a share screen might solve that issue. So it still has, you know, the people that are joining via Zoom, but you can still show that plan set.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll work
We're
out
gonna-
all the bugs. We'll work out all the bugs, I'm sure.
Yeah, so we're, you know, just figuring it out as we go. This is all kind of new to us as far as the hybrid portion of it goes. So
Right. Okay. All right then. Anything else on that on our regular agenda item there? Any other
no,
questions?
I think that's it. It was mostly just finding a date and time that worked for everybody, and then I will get that off to the city clerk, and then let Carrie know that that's what we agreed on.
Wonderful. Okay. So then to wrap up, our agenda has subcommittee updates. The design, just a quick design guidelines subcommittee hasn't met this last few weeks, but we have some meetings coming up for both the design guidelines and the parklets. So we had a couple meetings on both those things we're looking at, but that's still next meeting's pending on those, right?
Yes. So yeah. And then Lars, I did want to ask, because I know you brought it up in our subcommittee meeting of you know, meeting with staff in the subcommittee before we got the kind of admin draft from the consultant for the design guidelines.
That was an idea, yeah.
Yeah, is there a date that you were kind of targeting as far as getting that meeting agenda, or not really agenda, but
Yeah.
together?
Well, I think we also talked about just having a good amount of time from when we do get the draft report. So I guess if we know we're going to have, so let's say, whatever, 3-4 weeks to look at that, we can just, that would work. I think we probably can just kind of, you know, we have time then to really go through it. I guess maybe we just wait for that, and we could, if we need to schedule a separate, just the committee meeting.
Okay.
After that would make some sense. Otherwise, we just meet with the consultant.
Okay.
I think that
All right.
works.
Okay. I'll relay that to Carrie and Paul then.
Well, and Christine, you have a comment about that?
Yeah, I just feel that it would be useful if that we could review the draft,
Yeah,
especially with the design portion of it, without the consultants.
right.
first.
So we could get the draft, have a couple weeks to review it, then the committee meets separately, then we meet with a consultant. I think that's a good process.
I think that's a good, I really like that idea, Lars.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That sound good, John? Okay. All right. I think that's all on our agenda, unless anyone else has anything to say.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would, yeah, and I would, like I said, if there's anything that comes up as far as meetings where you're not able to attend, or if you have questions for the new, exceptions and stuff like that, please reach out to me and I'll get you that information as quickly as possible. And if there are meetings, that you may not be able to attend, just let me know as soon as possible, because, it was easier to cancel the Zoom meetings kind of last minute, as opposed to with the community center now, we're going to be charged, and the
Right.
logistics of that stuff is a little bit harder to do on a last minute basis, as opposed to
Right.
what we're able to do with Zoom. So,
Mhm.
Okay, that's good
and
to know.
that goes for me letting you guys know as far as, upcoming items and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
Um,
Great.
I was gonna ask you, John, will we be sworn in probably in person, come March 14th and such?
for the new appointments and reappointments, yes, I would think that that's probably the best way to do it, and just handle it all at that point.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
because we
In
it
two,
doesn't
there,
make sense to do it earlier.
and then we have accreditation for the God, what am I drawing a blank? It's the gosh, yes, we had to do the what is it, the Political Fair Practice Act? It's
Oh, the Brown Act.
No, it's the
The ethics stuff.
ethics. Thanks, that ethics.
Yeah.
Golly. Jeez.
Yeah, there is an ethics training that I believe,
Yeah.
I think Mary sends that out to everybody. If not, then it would come from either myself or Carrie.
Okay.
And then I think Form 700 is the other one.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Financial disclosure form. Yeah.
Yeah.
Christine?
I just have a comment on that ethics training, just FYI. If you're not getting paid for your position, you don't have to do it. So, just so you know, I haven't done it for years.
That's how
very
it sounds. It seems very unethical. But
Well, no, because it's the
I'm
point of it is
kidding.
if you're getting paid, I'm just letting you guys
Yeah.
all know, because
yeah,
Well, I didn't know that. So thanks, Christine. You just saved me like an hour and a half or 2 hours that you have to do it again and again and again. So, but I didn't.
meaninglessly. So
Yeah,
right.
I had the
right.
impression it was mandatory. But thanks for the.
no, I went through this with Mary because I asked myself. I read the thing that talked about who has to do it and who doesn't have to do it, and because I don't like wasting my time, and especially when I'm not getting paid.
You're not getting paid? Bad
So
joke.
that's just an
Okay.
FYI. And
Yeah.
she ran it by Larry and they agreed. So I guess they just let me off the hook, but just kept you guys going because you didn't say anything. But I'm just
Squeaky
passing
wheel.
you it on the ticket. You can carry on if you'd like.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah. I feel like a
Okay.
big sister now. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Thanks.
Anything else, or if not, we could adjourn the meeting
Yeah.
until our next meeting on the 28th. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. All right. Well, that's perfect.
Right.
All right.
See you.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you on the 28th.
Bye.